This is a Your Last Resorts production.
Hello, welcome to What is Wrong with You? I am here with my lovely guest, Jameson White. He has been my best friend since how old? Like 13 or 14?
I think we were like 13, 14,
yeah,
somewhere in there, yeah.
a very long time. He's my roommate. He's a real one, and he's here. Today we're going to figure out what's wrong with him.
It's a loaded question, but...
yeah. So if you listened before, I always start off by asking everybody what their favorite movie and their favorite musical artist is. And I don't think I know what your favorite movie is. Mm-hmm. So what is it?
Favorite movie? I've been thinking about this question a lot lately. I would say the favorite movie is more of a recent watch that I've had, but it's like kind of an older movie in the 90s, is Fight Club with Brad Pitt. And I remember seeing it. My mind was kind of blown.
Oh, yeah. What made your mind blown about it?
So, essentially the storyline behind it, because it's 25 years old, so I'm not spoiling anything for anybody. But essentially this guy is going through life. He's not happy where he's at. He comes across this dude who runs like an underground fight club, and he's like, the rule of Fight Club, number one rule is nobody talks about Fight Club. So you go in there, it's a bunch of guys that beat the shit out of each other underground. They sort of get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
You go throughout the movie that like lives in this abandoned house. Like these guys become best friends. And then later on in the movie, you realize that Brad Pitt, who's the beginning of Fight Club, who's the guy who's the best friend of the main character, becomes the main character. He never existed. This is just the version of the guy who's like the most outgoing, most outlandish, most like get out of your comfort zone version of this guy. He never existed. So this guy realizes that all of this existed within himself.
Wow.
And he had to just imagine this guy came across him to get out of his comfort zone.
Wow, I need to watch that. I've heard that that's actually one of the most like popular movies amongst men.
Absolutely. No, and it's weird. Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously you have the whole Fight Club thing. So you got guys just beating the shit out of each other in a parking lot, in a bar, in a basement. Like, doesn't matter what it is. But you go around and it's really... It was an eye-opening movie for one. Like, I remember when I first found out that, Brad Pitt never existed in this movie. I can't even remember his name, but when I first found out he never existed, it was kind of mind-blowing.
Wow. I'm going to have to watch it.
Yes.
Well, now I know this. It's okay, though. But yeah, that seems like a good watch.
Absolutely.
We'll watch it mainly for Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
But
Big Brad Pitt fan, so yeah, absolutely.
Stepping out of your comfort zone. I love to see it. I have an inkling, but who is your favorite musical artist?
For the last 3 years has been Future at the number one Spotify artist, number one Apple Music artist. 2021, I was in the top 0.5% of listeners on Apple Music. And I was one of his top listeners on Spotify as well. So listen to probably 300 plus hours combined of Future across the platforms. However, lately...
Wait. We gotta backtrack. You're in his top listeners on Spotify. That's iconic.
And Apple Music.
Okay.
So between the two, shit ton of Future.
So you have both of those. You do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I forgot about that. I have both of those too.
Yes.
I can't believe you made it to both platforms as being in his top.
Well, and that's the thing is I like to think I have a more diversified taste of music than just Future.
Yeah.
However, most of my music listening comes in the gym. So it's an hour and a half a day. Like if I'm listening to Future on repeat, 350 plus days a year. What do you think's going to happen?
You're getting out your demons
what
in the gym.
What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah.
So yes, Future's been my number one artist on Spotify and Apple Music for 3 years. However, lately, it's been a whole lot of Kanye.
All right.
And I think this shifted probably around the time whenever his docuseries on Netflix dropped, Genius, 3-part docuseries, and it was kind of crazy how seeing Kanye's upbringing and sort of what made Kanye.
Right. I haven't seen that yet. I plan on watching it, but I loved Kanye. Growing up as a kid, I remember, I'm trying to think of how old I was, but I remember my mom and my stepdad and my aunt were going to go to a Kanye concert. And it was for his Glow in the Dark tour, and Rihanna was like touring with him.
Okay.
And I remember I was so upset because my mom wouldn't let me go. I'm pretty sure I was in like 4th grade. And yeah, I wasn't allowed to go, and I was just devastated about it.
I don't know, like seeing prime Kanye like that, I feel like would have been amazing.
Yeah.
And I didn't appreciate his music until way later on, like probably till like after his downfall. So
yeah.
When I look back at some of his quote unquote downfall, if I had the opportunity to see him like at his peak, like around the, My Dark Beautiful Twisted Fantasy, Life of Pablo, like somewhere in that time frame, or even before that, like, college graduation, dropout.
Oh, the college dropout. Yeah. That's so, like, my favorite album.
Yes.
Did I ever tell you that I saw him in concert?
No. When did you see him?
It was for Yeezus at the X Games.
Oh my god. Okay.
But it was like horrible because we waited. So he was with Mac Miller, and we waited in the sun, like in the blistering heat, at the Circuit of the Americas for 8 hours.
Wait, were they touring together?
Yeah. They were. Well, it wasn't a tour. They were just here for X Games.
Okay.
So yeah. We waited all day. I rarely get sunburned, but it was one of the times in my life where I did. And we saw his first song, and then I was with Mallory, and if she's listening to this, she'll remember it. I'm going to roast her because Mallory was like, I'm going to pass out. Like, we have to leave. And I was like, no, like, we can't leave. Are you kidding me? It's Kanye. And she sat down in the middle of, like, what felt like it was a mosh pit. And everyone was like, are you okay? And they were like trying to pour ice on her and stuff because she was so overheated. So we had to make our way out of the crowd. So we only saw Kanye for one song. It was Blood on the Leaves.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'd have been pissed.
Yeah.
I'd have been mad. Like really, really upset.
I'm still mad about it to this day. But I'm curious, the documentary that you watched. So it's, like I said, I haven't seen it. It's 4 episodes, right?
3 episodes.
3 episodes. Yep. Okay.
And so, yes, 3 episodes. It kind of brings up a lot of the first episodes centered around his mom, Donda.
Okay.
And I believe she comes up. She's a big part of every episode. But I think what stood out to me with it is you see sort of how Kanye came to be. And that you see why, like, he named an album after his mom, 2 albums now after his mom. And she like gave him I don't know if she gave it to him or if he had it or she just helped nurture it, is his like insane belief in self.
Okay.
Like she told him, you can really like, even as cliche as it is, like you can become whatever you want to become.
Right.
And like anytime he had an idea that he wanted to take and try and run with, she fully supported him and really like helped nurture. And I think what helped is I believe she was an English teacher, and so him coming up like producing beats and things like that, I don't know if they really got into it in the docuseries, but I kind of wonder if that's part of how he became so like lyrically inclined. I know he has some like terrible lyrics in some of his songs, but
I was thinking about
some of them are really good.
Yeah.
So I think that's just gonna come with Kanye.
Yeah.
And I remember like my jaw didn't drop, but I had to like pause an episode. I think it was the first episode. One of the quotes that Donda West said was, "A giant looks in the mirror and he sees nothing." And this was whenever Kanye was still like trying to knock on the door, get his big record deal, seeing his sort of hustle and his drive to try and get a record deal. And one of the songs that, he wanted to keep tweaking with, but she was like, no, this is like fantastic. And she was just like, a giant looks in the mirror and he sees nothing.
Yeah. And
it was something like where I had to, this is film from 30 years ago, 20 years ago, something like that. And Kanye's listening to his mom say this to him. And you sit there and you just think like how deep of a quote that was for whatever reason. And I don't know if maybe that's something that runs through Kanye's mind, or like how much of an impact that quote had on him. But I remember like hearing it. It was really impactful for me.
Yeah. To hear a giant looks in the mirror and he sees nothing.
Yes, because it's like it doesn't, in my case, right. I mean, you know, being a 6'5" dude, like, you know, I see myself in the mirrors in one way.
Yeah.
Whereas the entire outside world sees me in a different way, whether that's just, you know, me being taller or like just me being some random guy, like
right.
Whatever it is, like there's going to be a different perspective from the outside world than you have with yourself. And so if you're looking in the mirror and you just see the same thing every single day, you're going to, you can very easily lose the appreciation for what you have for yourself.
Okay.
It becomes so mundane and you're like, okay, well, I'm just me. And it's like, you know.
Well, that does make sense, actually, now that I think about it. You don't ever want to look in the mirror and be like, I see this every day. Like, I'm just that.
Yeah.
Because then I feel like that almost puts yourself, like, limitations on yourself. Like, I see this, that means I can't be this or that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you can have all of the belief of the outside world coming your way, but until you really see yourself in a light that's like, you know, I can do anything. And even Kanye says it multiple times. He's like, I can do anything. Like, I think there's an interview where he's talking to a newscaster, and I can't remember if it was like the guy had asked, like, if you weren't in rap, what would you do? And I think Kanye said to be in the NBA. And the guy was like,
he's
I'm not going to be in the NBA.
For that.
And that guy was like, you wouldn't be in the NBA. And he's like, why not? Yes, I would. Like, I'm going to make it to the NBA. And he's like, whether it's right or not, I believe I can do whatever I want to. And there's to an extent, yes, you can get carried away with Kanye. Like, he's had his controversial moments throughout his career, plenty of them.
Yeah.
However, I have to applaud the guy and like just sit back, and you kind of have to appreciate what he's brought to the table in terms of his music, the longevity of career, for another thing. I mean, he's been around for 20 years now, and he's still, you know, a major talking point. He's you know,
I think relevant.
I think his net worth's like $5 billion. Like, he's you know, he's got his own clothing lines, and like obviously being involved with the Kardashians, like he's a marketing genius for whatever.
Well, see, I don't like them. I can't stand
either.
The Kardashians. It's so stupid. But I can't. As much as I can't stand them, I'm like, well, they know what they're doing, like marketing wise, publicity wise. I hate the whole shit about Kim and Pete Davidson.
And trying to get back at Ye, and it's like, you know, I think it was just a perfect storm. I think Ye helped build the Kardashians brand just as much as the Kardashians helped build Ye's brand.
Absolutely.
And I don't know too much about the Kardashians, so I could be wrong on like how big they were before Ye came around and keeping up with the Kardashians and things like that. But I know they could have only helped each other's brands grow.
Totally. Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff he said, like slavery is a choice and all that. Like, that's like, he's obviously like off the rocker. No, before he was off the rocker, he was brilliant.
Yes, he was, and he was like that. It was also misconstrued, because I remember watching an interview with him talking about it. He was like, no, it wasn't a choice. It's like he was talking about like the mindset behind it. He just worded it terribly.
Okay,
so,
I didn't know about that. I thought he was just some of the stuff he says, it's like, well, he needs meds.
It's like,
but like
possibly, and it's just. You have to take a lot of things with a grain of salt and also put it into context. And I know sometimes the media like tries to do that with random people. Yeah, and, totally. You know, just takes random quotes and throws it out there. Like, this is all he said. Was, you know,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, he is brilliant musically, and I need to watch that documentary.
It's absolutely worth the watch.
Yeah. I had no idea that his mom was an English teacher or anything about. I just know his mom died, and then he got in that really bad car accident, right? That was Through the Wire.
Yes, and that was a big poor. I think it was episode 2. Like, goes through the whole, like, you know, the makings of Through the Wire, and you know, he just signed a record deal with, I think it was Rock Nation, and he got in this wreck before his first studio album came out. So he's like, he had all this momentum. He was busting his ass, like trying to get his foot in the door with the record label.
Right.
Finally gets on with Rock Nation and Jay-Z, and then he gets in this wreck, and he's got to kind of like start all over.
Yeah.
And build from the ground up. For one, like, you know, almost died in this wreck. Shatters his jaw, and like you think about it, like, I mean, I guess you're, for lack of a better term, like your mouth is your like what you have to bring to the table as a rapper, or like any sort of musical artist that's more vocally inclined, obviously. But
well, just in general, like, you use your mouth and ready to speak. I wouldn't know what to do if my mouth got wired shut. I talk way too much.
It's like, I couldn't imagine that in the first place, but then also trying to take off in a career that requires that. Right. And so he just kind of put all his eggs in this basket of Through the Wire and like making himself a music video, and he was like, you know what, Rock Nation's not gonna help me out, fuck it, I'll do it myself. And he's like, that's another thing that comes up with Kanye a lot too. There's another video interview I've watched of his where he talks about like all his music. You go and listen to his music. He talks about like it's all about just belief in self. Like, you listen to my music, I want my fans and listeners beginning to believe in themselves just by listening to my music. Right. And
so do you think like by listening to his music, and you listen to it whenever you go to the gym, right? Yeah. Do you feel like that's like impactful? Because you have pretty great confidence and belief in self. So do you think that's like
it for sure helps? Okay, it for sure helps, and I think it's only been an extra supplement to what I've tried to do in my life over the last probably 3-ish years now, at least. Is put a lot more effort and energy into what I'm doing with my life, where I'm planning on going, having a plan, like, you know, putting in some kind of, you know, discipline, like whatever it is, just starting from the basis of you have to believe in yourself.
Yeah, totally.
And so some of his music, like it's helped done that. I don't rely on Kanye for self-confidence.
Kanye is my god. Yes, I worship him. No,
but it does help.
Yeah.
So a lot of his stuff has helped. It's been a supplement to it.
Yeah. Can you imagine just worshiping a musical artist? Like, they're my god. I do everything they say.
I feel like there's quite a few people to do that with, like, I don't know.
Which, if that's what helps you, I'm not gonna, whatever. Everybody has our things. I just never could. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm learning now discipline is a hard thing to maintain, but it's like, you got to stay disciplined. I don't know.
You have to, and it like sort of starts with like, you can't be disciplined without really having a habit in place. Yeah. And obviously it takes time to form a habit. Like it's whatever discipline it is, like it's going to suck ass for the first, you know, probably a couple of weeks at least. Yeah. And then after that, it's like, okay, it's like, this is, you know, you start to see like a little change in yourself. Right. You start to see a little sort of improvement, or a little, just, you know, you start finding yourself trending in an upward direction. Once you see that, like, it can become addicting to do so. Yeah. And it doesn't really matter what discipline you choose. Yeah. But I think everybody needs to have some sort of thing that they're disciplined in. Yeah, I agree. And at least in my case, mine started in the gym, just working out. I was, you know, tired of feeling, I want to say tired of the way I looked, but there got to a point where I was, you know, almost 280 pounds. And I was like, okay, I've always been like this big chubby dude. Like, what if I just took this and ran with it and just kept going? And like, you know, once I had always had a background in like sports and athletics, so I had some sort of basis of knowledge to get into it. And I know that's why a lot of people don't get into more of the fitness or working out space, is just because they don't know what to do when you get into a gym. And it's like, I know it's intimidating.
It's weird. Like, I like going to the gym, but I don't know if I'll ever be a fitness like person, but well, I said that wrong. I don't know if I'll ever like be, I guess, is a gym rat like,
say a gym rat, fitness guru, like what?
Yeah,
you know,
I just enjoy like working out, but I think this happened the other day when I texted you because I started going to Fitness Connection, and I was like, my God, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, everybody is so skilled here, but the reality of it is, like, nobody's even looking at you. Everybody's paying attention to their workout.
Absolutely. And
yeah.
a lot of like gym rats and people I've come across in my experience, like just being in the gym, knowing from personal experience, like a lot of the time you're in your zone. That's why you have headphones in. That's why you just like, I don't know, every once in a while you have a creep staring at you. I've had the old guy that just sits there and stares at me while I'm lifting. He's like, okay, whatever. I just got to put my blinders on. But a lot of the time, like, nobody's really...
An old guy staring at you?
It's happened multiple times.
Use it as a chance to become a sugar baby. I would.
I'd rather not. But, you know, if that's the little confidence booster I need, so like, okay, whatever I'm doing in the gym is working.
Right.
So it's I don't know. It's an interesting thing to see people like start out in the gym and just get in there, and like how quickly they can either become addicted to it or they just like become intimidated by it and never go back.
Right.
And I it's 100% understandable. That's an intimidating thing.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, you go in there, everybody looks like they know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
right. Well, I think also like, I don't know if you ever had this problem, but I have told you before, I used to struggle real bad with an eating disorder and just like body image issues. And I remember going to the gym used to be not like an addiction for me, but I would go and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to work out this many times and I'm going to worry about being the skinniest I can be. And if I can't reach that goal, then I'm just going to keep coming back. And then I'd go into the gym and I'd be like, oh my God, like, I'm the fattest one here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just got to keep on running and sweating so that one day, like, I won't be the fattest person in here. But that's such an unhealthy mindset. And now, like, that I've gotten, you know, recovered and in recovery, all these things, I can go to the gym and it's like, okay, this is the time to just think of it as, like, becoming healthy, not necessarily, like, the most in shape person. But I guess my point is I can see where being intimidated or like these unhealthy like habits can form, but I also see where healthy habits can form from going every day.
Absolutely. No, and it's like, you know, it's for one thing, it's an amazing thing that you've even put in the work to like come out of your, I don't want to say like a self negative view of like mindset.
Right.
Like it's an amazing thing that you've put in the work to get through that. And you know, it's obviously not an easy thing.
Right. Yeah. Not
and
at all.
It's like, I know it's tough and a lot of people go through that. And like, there's a lot of guys in the fitness space or like even girls too, like they just suffer from body image issues and like body dysmorphia and things like that. And so, you know, they try and lose weight by, you know, just cutting out eating, just going to the gym. And it's like, you know, there's healthy ways to do things, not healthy things to do it two ways. And it's like, part of it is, do you want to just be this little flash in the pan to where like you lose all this weight right then, but if you change too drastically your diet and your like fitness routines and habits, like you'll lose weight initially, but then you're going to fall back into those bad habits and it's going to get even worse. So it's like, do you want to be in this for the long haul or, you know, just look good for the summer? Like you're going to the beach for 5 days,
it's
look good for
summer,
that.
Cutting down. But that is true. And then you end up like, I don't know. I remember I'd be losing weight, like looking however, but then I'd be so tired because I'd be like, I haven't ate, but like at least I'm here working out, going off what little fumes I have. And it's just unhealthy. But that is true. It's not like just a summer quick fix.
Absolutely no. And it's like it takes forever to. It doesn't take forever. It's not an overnight process to really achieve your, you know, dream physique, dream body. Like, but a lot of the time, like you get to where you want to go. Like if you have a certain weight goal, you get there and you realize like, you know, that's not enough. I want to keep going. And it's like, it's just a constant cycle of that. And so as long as you're in a healthy place doing it, then I think the gym can be one of the most life-changing things that, you know, somebody can do. And obviously like there's tons of like cognitive and just other health benefits rather than just like being in better shape that happen from the gym and you know just happen from working out. And it doesn't even matter what you do for exercise.
Yeah.
But just like doing something is a hell of a lot better than doing nothing and just having wishful thinking that you were doing something.
Yeah, I think like even if you're not a person that like works out or runs or like does anything like that, just like something to get your mind going, I guess. Did I tell you, I have told you about the book I was reading and how in that book it has this thing called like the morning pages. Have I told you about that?
You told me about the book, but not the morning pages.
Okay, so yeah, so there's this part when you start off the book is called The Artist Way. Recommend anybody reading it, whether you're an artist or you just want to explore more things in life. It's proven to be one of the most like life-changing books. So she gives you, the author's Julia Cameron, and she gives you these tools basically to follow, which I've told you about that, but for anybody who doesn't know about the book, and one of the tools in there is this tool called morning pages. And when you wake up, the first thing you do in the morning or whatever time you wake up is write 3 pages just of, it can be just whatever's going on in your mind. And she has you do that because the book is a 12-week like deal. So at the end of the 12 weeks, you don't read any of your pages until the end of the 12 weeks. But eventually, what you notice is a pattern. So if you wake up every day and you're complaining about the same thing without even realizing it, like eventually you're going to get so tired of having that problem or not making a change that you're going to be pushed on your own to like make the change.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I've done the book a lot of times. I mean, you can do it as many times as you want, but I first did it in 2019, and then I've done it like a couple times after, and I'm doing it again because I just feel like it helps. But morning pages is now something that has been added to my routine, and anytime I don't do them, I feel like weird almost, because it's like when you run and you don't get like your miles in. She uses that comparison in the book, and that's totally, I run a lot too, so yeah, anytime I don't get enough miles in for the week, I go crazy. But yeah, the morning pages, as weird as it sounds, has led me to like, okay, if I don't like that and I'm complaining about it every day, I need to just quit being a crybaby and like do something to make the change. Or like it's just helped switch a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely. And that's like I think that's a big thing for, I think it's just a really good representation of, for one, writing things down. Like you sort of hear like growing up, like you need, like that's the whole point behind taking notes. And so you have a better memory of it. And it's also too, like it's something I learned from Jordan Peterson. You hear me talk about him all the time, reading his books, his podcast, whatever. He talks about like writing just being the most clear form of thinking that humans have available to them.
Yeah, of course.
So you get it out on a piece of paper, and then you can, in that process, I think what's really beneficial in that, like journaling or whatever you choose to do to write about, you do that on a daily basis, I think you become really honest with yourself. Yeah. And that's like I think where you lay the groundwork for actually choosing something that you want to fix in your life, and like have a better habit, or really any sort of adjustment you want to make, like just being brutally honest with yourself.
Well, that's one of his rules in the book, right? Is tell the truth. You tell me all the time.
Yes, tell the truth, or at least don't lie.
Okay, yeah.
And that's a big thing. And it's like, if you continuously lie to others around you, you're subconsciously going to pick up on some of your lies and like start to believe them yourself.
Right. That makes you delusional.
No, and it's like,
yeah,
would you rather, he brings it up in his book and in his podcast and tons of different stuff. It's like, would you rather live in this world where everything around you is a lie and deceitful and just not the cold, honest truth?
Right.
Or if you live in truth, then you know what you're working with, and there's a whole lot less misconstrued evidence and like misconstrued aspects of your life where you're just not really, you don't know what's going on if everything around you is a lie. Like there's a lot more to think through, a lot more.
Well, have you ever, let me ask you this, like not necessarily been living in like a lie, but like have you ever been so afraid to just like speak like true or like say what you feel, and then like it causes like overthinking, and they're like, wow, girl. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's like the whole
Yeah.
basis of it. And it's like another part of that he mentions is, you know, it's tell the truth or at least don't lie. And a form of lying is if you have something to say but you don't say it. Because
see, that's one thing that got me though, because a lot of times I'll be like, well, I'm just better off with keeping it to myself, and I'll be like, if I don't have anything nice to say, I'm just not going to say it. And now I'm like, no, it needs to be said. I'm working on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's another quote, like, you know, would you rather have the pain of rejection or the pain of regret? Like, you know, you're going to have a lot more regret, you know, thinking, you know, the coulda, woulda, shouldas, you know, having just wishful thinking.
Right.
By not saying something that you have to say, rather than, you know, you ask somebody a question, you say something to somebody that, you know, it's on your mind. If they reject it, it's like, whatever, I got this off my chest. So now I can move forward and get to the next step, rather than be stuck thinking, what if I'd said this? What if I did this instead of that? And then, you know, it's just, you're a lot better off just doing what you feel to be best. And like saying the truth in that. And obviously, like, you know, you have something, like if it's something mean, like you don't.
It's like, hey, your outfit sucks.
Yeah, just
today.
keep, like, you know.
Maybe don't wear that.
Yes, but it's just like, you
Jordan
know.
Peterson, I'm following your rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But no, it's just like, you know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, that'd be like awful if you're just like, hey, I hate you.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson said.
Yes. Well, it's like, it's a lot harder to say the full truth than a lot of people think.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
You know, it's you know, it's kind of a scary thought to
Right.
do it. And it's like, you sort of, you know, protect yourself and protect, you know, maybe protect the other person in the short term, in the intermediate, but you get to the long-term effects of that. Like, you know, who knows how differently the world is just because of a lie. And like, he brings it up, and he gets way more in depth in his book than I will get into. But he talks about that's sort of how like Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia and, you know, Mao's China, like they came to be, is because essentially like lying, deceit, and, you know, if these soldiers, these prison guards these people who became prison guards, they saw something in the world going on in the world around them about, you know, enslaving people and like, you know, doing terrible things to humanity.
Right.
There's more than likely they had something to say about it and they didn't say it. Yeah. And that's how you get to totalitarianism and, you know, just seeing tyrants come to be. It's a lot of the time it's lying, and the people around them also lying by not saying something that they have to say. And so it's like, next time you think about like, you know, saying a lie.
Next time you don't want to say the full truth, think about you're going to be the next.
Just a tyrant. Just to be a tyrant. You know, who knows where that lie leads.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing too, because he's been a clinical psychologist for like 30 years.
Right.
And he's had some of his clinical clients and patients, they've told him about lies or things that they've done, and he said he's never seen one of them get away with anything, not even once.
Oh, of course not.
And so it's like, it makes you think about it, like you think you've won in the short term now, but who knows when it comes back to bite you in the ass.
Well, yeah, I think like the truth is always going to be revealed. Always. There's no way around it unless you're like a crazy politician or something. There's like, I won't get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think it'll always be revealed one way or another, so you might as well just yeah,
and it's like it I think it falls hand in hand with another one of his first 12 rules. He said he has like 40 something rules, and he's got 2 books now. God. So the first one's 12 rules for life, and one of his rules is do what is meaningful, not what is expedient. And I think that falls into that same truth category. Is you say a lie, that's expedient. But you tell the truth, that's more meaningful. Yeah. And the more meaning you have in your life, the more you'll really, you know, want to get out of bed in the morning. And, you know, I think you'll be overall happier with your life through that meaning and that sort of that climb uphill. Rather than, saying a lie that gets you to the top of the mountain, and then it's like, okay, then what?
Yeah, then that's like, it reminds me of, have you ever heard of Milli Vanilli?
I've heard the name.
So they're these two guys, I believe it's two guys, yeah. They got famous because they popped off and they started lip singing stuff, but nobody knew that they were lip singing. And so, I mean, they were really big probably back in like our parents' time.
Okay.
So this was like forever ago. But yeah, they got famous. Everybody thought they were great. Yada yada. Then I don't even know how it ended up. It came out that they were just lip singing everything, and then, I mean, people started hating them. I'm pretty sure one of them like killed himself over it.
Oh, God.
Which like I could be wrong. Maybe it was like an attempt to sue. Something bad happened though from it. Yeah. That's all I know. But yeah, they were lip singing, and
you suffer that downfall. And for one, you look like a jackass when you get caught in that lie. And so it's like, not only do you go through your life knowing you have this weight of a lie on your shoulders, when you do catch it, then you just feel even 100 times worse about it. And then like, it leads to things like that where, how big of a lie it is. And like,
everybody in the world was in on it. It's like Hannah Montana. Well, she didn't do anything to like get caught in the movies, I guess.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know if you'd count the Hannah Montana one as necessarily a lie. I don't know how long she went being Hannah Montana while also actually
Did you ever watch any?
Yeah, I watched I've seen all
the. Oh my gosh!
I have 3 sisters,
okay.
3 younger sisters at that.
Yeah,
so I've seen like the TV show, the movie. I've heard the songs. Like, I just don't know if Hannah Montana was always a joke side character to Miley Cyrus, or if there was a point where there was a Hannah Montana that nobody knew as Miley Cyrus before Miley Cyrus said it.
No, I was totally just joking. I'm like trying to analyze.
Well, no, I was just I was mentioning. I was kind of curious.
Yeah, no. So she, from the beginning of the show, she always said that she was Miley.
Okay.
But I was making a joke because in the movie, you know how she gets into that shoe fight? I was actually watching this like yesterday with Tyra Banks. They get into the shoe fight, and Billy Ray Cyrus, the dad, gets mad at her because I guess like, she got into a fight. Her wig could have flew. So yeah, she wasn't telling the full truth by being Hannah Montana. So
exactly.
Jordan Peterson would have been like, Hannah Montana, you're
Jordan
canceled.
Peterson would have pissed at it. But it's just regardless of what it is, you just try and tell the truth. And if that means like telling the truth to yourself, then that's a big thing. Because a lot of people, what they'll also do is, I'm by no means perfect. I catch myself doing this stuff all the time. And so it's like, it's one thing to have the knowledge to it and try and apply it. And it's another thing not to have the knowledge and then you don't ever apply it.
Right.
So it's like, at least if you're aware of it,
you
can try and strive to be a better person.
Yeah,
but, you catch yourself doing these things where it's like, it's not really beneficial to you. And you just try and sweep it under the rug and ignore it. And, those things you sweep under the rug and that you think are little, like eventually come back and they become big things. And especially if you're doing that with yourself, it's like, bad habits or, really just being, the old saying, like, ignorance is bliss. Like, if you don't know anything, it's like, okay, well, it can't be bad if I don't know, if I don't acknowledge it.
I'm guilty of that because sometimes I've been like, the less I know, the better.
Yeah.
What I don't know can
Absolutely.
hurt me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it like,
just do.
Yes. And there's a balance between like going way too hard investigator and like trying to find something out, like find some dirt. Like a lot of the time when you go looking, you find something you don't want to see.
I agree with that. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, well, ignorance is bliss. I just don't know.
Absolutely. And like I'm
gonna shut it off.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't mean it's going away. Just because you put it out of your sight does not mean it's going away.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of just being brutally honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many books and I've read in the last couple of years on this type of stuff and like how many thousands of hours of podcasts I've listened to, sort of the self-help, self-improvement type space. But that's been a big, I can't even say it's a conclusion that I've came to, but you look at sort of your daily habits in your life, what's going to be beneficial to you, what's not beneficial. and you're brutally honest with it, a lot of the time, if it's not benefiting you spiritually, mentally, financially, physically, or just emotionally,
Yeah.
then why even do it?
Right.
You know, and I used to think that was like mostly something you should take sort of that mindset to the people you keep around you. Like if they're not benefiting you in one of those 5 ways, why keep them around? And then I thought about it more, and I was like, actually, if you try and take that and you take it into your everyday habits of like what you do,
Yeah.
you know, who knows how much better off you can be just by doing the things that actually benefit you.
Right. Right.
Which is it's a big thing, and it's a sort of mindset shift.
Shit. I'm kidding.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with you. It is.
It's sort of a tough thing to come to grips with, because you think like doing something that benefits you is selfish. You can come across as selfish or, you know, self-absorbed or whatever it is. But I really think like you can't bring proper value to somebody else around you without being fully.
You have to like be self-aware to some extent, because I think too a big problem that I used to have was being a pushover to people because I didn't want to be self-absorbed or like selfish. But I think when you fall into those habits of, okay, well, I know that I don't have time to do this, but I'm going to squeeze it in to make them happy, or this is not what I'm comfortable with. I don't like this, but somebody else wants this. So like, okay, you're not pleasant to be around.
No, you're not.
You're so like, I feel like it's almost, the comparison that I could make to it is you're just being stretched like one of those sticky hands in 1,000 different directions, because you're not even taking care of yourself, and ultimately that just leads to like self-destruction and things like that.
Yeah,
so
you're not going to be fully present in those interactions with other people, and so it's like
anytime I can feel that I'm not present or something, like I feel like now I'm just nerding out on it, but I took this class and they talk about like different feelings and things you feel in the body, and anytime I feel myself getting that stress of like being a people pleaser, I can always feel myself where I'm tensing up in certain parts of my neck because I'm getting like, oh yeah, this isn't going to be good, and anybody who's going to be around me, it's not going to be pleasant for them because I'm going to be so angry that I'm just tending to other people's needs and not caring about mine.
Absolutely. And that's a really like big thing is you have to realize that you have your own needs. You can't always try and meet somebody else's needs if you're not meeting your own.
I agree.
And it's a tough thing to like really realize and to even try and make a shift on, because you think you're selfish for doing it. But the world around you, I think, is a lot better place if you're meeting your own needs first.
Yeah.
And then you can worry about how to meet other people's needs. And obviously like this is just an overgeneralization. Like, you know, if you're a parent and you have a newborn baby that's completely dependent upon you to do anything, take care of them. Well,
it's like, my child needs me, but I'd rather not.
I need to eat real quick.
No. I'm hungry, so the baby's going to have to stay in a dirty diaper. See, but that's like, yeah, I think this is super long term. I could not be a parent anytime soon ever in my life. I'm too selfish. And yes, that's my dream, is just to be the aunt, just the rich aunt that has no kids and she's just having fun. Because I don't want to take care of a child. Maybe my mind will change one day, but yeah, and I don't know how that even came out, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, I guess there's a difference between like taking care of yourself and like screw that baby.
Right, absolutely. And it's like, no, and I think, I don't know why I'm going back to it, but you'd mentioned it, like that class you just took where you said you could feel it in your neck, like whenever something was off, you feel like you're stretching yourself too thin.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a really important thing of that sort of being self-aware of, you know, what's going on in that world around you.
Right.
And it's also too, like, again, you can't sweep that under the rug. You know, you have to acknowledge it. And like, if you have to like leave or you can't go to something just because you know it's not good for you.
Right. What do you have? You have anxiety, right? Or you don't?
I've never been like diagnosed with it. Okay. But I've definitely, it's something I've recognized you know, I can be anxious about something. Anybody can be anxious about something.
Right. It just, all these things fascinate me because before I decided to be an actress or a comedian, I wanted to be a therapist. Part of the reason why I have this podcast to just figure out what's wrong with people. But yeah, I have bad anxiety
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit, but when I feel myself getting so anxious, like in my stomach, I can feel it. It's weird because I'm like, well, there's something that I probably could have done to prevent this anxious feeling, but here I am.
Absolutely.
You know, and sometimes it's unpreventable. You just get anxiety, and that sucks. But like, there are certain times where I'm like, okay, my dad has always told me that stress is just the lack of preparation for something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always been like, you asshole, like, that's not true. I'm just stressed because I have anxiety, but then I can feel like, yeah, there's ways you can control it.
Absolutely. And it's like once again, if you nip that in the bud early, you don't let it fester, then you don't have these like, you know, eventually you can think you're just bearing it down and you'll never mention like, you know, what you're feeling, but eventually it all comes to a head and then you just explode on somebody for everything they've ever done. And it's like, they're, you know, like, you know, where the fuck did this come from? But
women are probably better at doing that than men, like exploding. Well, I don't know. I guess it could go both ways.
I don't know, but it's like, I know at least a lot of guys, they do that. Like, I've been there before where I just keep burying shit down. And like, it's like.
Well, you have to live with me, poor you. But you've seen me when I get in my fits. And it's not even at you. It's just at things that I haven't dealt with. And I'm like, absolutely. This sucks. Everything sucks.
No, and it's like just in that, you kind of sort of have to take a deep breath and like, you know, notice, you know, is this me or the situation? Right. And like 99% of the time, it's the situation that's just causing you to do that. And you know, it's just, I don't know, there's real opportunity for growth just by acknowledging what's there. And obviously growth isn't easy and it's not always
scary, but
it's scary. And it's like it's often it's a daunting task, but once you keep going in that space to where like you're doing something that's beneficial towards you, you do things that also, you know, I can go on for this.
You can. Well, we are almost out of time, but it has been so great to chat with you. This actually sounds like what most of our talks always are.
Most of the time, yeah.
And I'm just so thankful that you agreed to coming on the pod and having like talks about a lot of the stuff that is like hard to talk about. You're a wonderful person, absolutely, a growing person.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you for the invite. It's, you know, always great talking to you. Obviously, we live together now. But, you know, it's
kind of scary, but do you have anything you want to like plug, like your TikTok, Instagram, anything like that, where people can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So my big thing that I've tried to grow in this year is on TikTok at Jameson White 4. I try and put out some sort of inspiring message to people on a daily basis, you know, and record workouts, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah. Shoot me a DM on there, comment on something, and I will absolutely get back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jameson. You've been
Thanks,
fun.
This has been a Your Last Resort production.